Did you know that assaulting a royal guard can lead to up to 6 months in prison? It's a fact that tourist Ryan Parker was unaware of as he prepared to douse Guard Michael Bennett with iced coffee. In his mind, it was just another prank for his 500,000 followers, but what happened next defied all expectations. In a display of skill that would make any action movie star jealous, Michael caught the coffee mid-air, preventing a single drop from staining his uniform. This split-second reaction not only saved his dignity, but also sparked a viral sensation of a very different kind, one that would be viewed over 50 million times and change both men's lives forever. Before we continue this amazing story, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. The first light of dawn bathed Buckingham Palace in a soft golden hue as Michael Bennett, a 27-year-old royal guard, marched to take his post. As he assumed his position, his posture was ramrod straight, his gaze fixed ahead with unwavering focus. As the sun climbed higher, visitors began to arrive. Michael heard snippets of conversation in various languages, a reminder of London's global appeal. He remained motionless, his training allowing him to tune out the growing hubbub. A group of schoolchildren approached, their eyes wide with awe and curiosity. One little girl waved shyly, and though Michael's expression remained impassive, he felt a flicker of warmth in his chest. The crowd swelled as the morning wore on. Tourists jostled for photos, but most maintained a respectful distance. An elderly couple caught Michael's attention. The man, wearing a veteran's cap, offered a crisp salute. Such encounters reminded Michael of the honor and responsibility of his role. As the temperature rose, Michael showed no sign of discomfort despite his heavy uniform. His mind briefly flashed to the grueling exercises and strict discipline that had shaped him into the guard he was today. Near noon, Michael noticed a shift in the crowd's energy. A group of young men were drawing attention with their boisterous behavior. One of them, sporting a backwards baseball cap and an oversized T-shirt, separated from his friends and sauntered towards the barrier. In his hand, Michael spotted a takeaway coffee cup. The young man's friends cheered him on, their encouragement growing louder. Other tourists began to take notice, some looking concerned, others merely curious. The atmosphere, once filled with respect and admiration, now crackled with tension. As the brash tourist approached, Michael's training kicked into high gear. He remained outwardly calm, but his mind raced through potential scenarios and appropriate responses. Years of preparation had led to this moment, and Michael was determined to handle whatever came his way with the dignity and professionalism expected of a royal guard. A ripple of excitement coursed through the crowd as a young man with a backwards cap and an oversized T-shirt pushed his way to the front. This was Ryan Parker, a social media influencer known for his Savage Pranks series. His arrival marked a clash of worlds, the timeless traditions of the royal guard about to collide with the brash culture of viral fame. Ryan's eyes gleamed with mischief as he surveyed the scene, his phone already recording. "Who's ready for the prank of the century?" he called out. A few onlookers chuckled nervously, while others exchanged worried glances. Ryan's friends cheered him on from behind their own cameras. "Dude, I bet you can't make that guard crack a smile," one friend challenged. The bet was on, and Ryan's eyes narrowed with determination. This was about proving himself to his peers and followers. As Ryan sauntered towards Michael's post, the air grew thick with tension. His approach contrasted sharply with the respectful distance maintained by other tourists. With each step, Ryan's bravado seemed to grow, fueled by the crowd's attention. "Hey, big guy," Ryan called out mockingly. "That hat of yours is bigger than my future." He paused, waiting for a reaction. When none came, Ryan's grin widened. He was just getting started. Ryan continued his performance, circling Michael like a shark sizing up its prey. "I bet you're just dying to stretch those legs, huh? Maybe do a little dance for us?" He pantomimed a ridiculous jig, eliciting a few reluctant laughs. But as his mockery escalated, the atmosphere shifted. The initial amusement gave way to discomfort. An elderly couple shook their heads disapprovingly, while a mother pulled her young son closer. The collective unease was palpable, a silent acknowledgement that this prank was veering into dangerous territory. Undeterred, Ryan pressed on with exaggerated marching motions. "Look at me! I'm a big scary guard," he taunted. "I protect the queen with my fancy hat and my stiff upper lip." As Ryan's antics reached a fever pitch, a voice cut through the tension. "That's enough, son," came the gruff warning from an elderly man wearing a veteran's cap. But Ryan, high on his performance, barely registered the intervention. In a final theatrical flourish, Ryan stepped uncomfortably close to Michael. "Come on, buddy," he whispered. "Just one little smile for the camera. Don't you want to be famous?" The air around Buckingham Palace now crackled with potential conflict. Ryan Parker stood poised on the precipice of a decision. Would he recognize the line he was about to cross, or would his quest for internet fame push him to take that one step too far? As the tension around Buckingham Palace peaked, an unexpected figure emerged from the crowd. John Hawkins, an elderly veteran, approached with slow but deliberate steps. His weathered eyes narrowed as he took in Ryan Parker's disrespectful antics. John had served in the Royal Army for over 3 decades, standing guard at this very palace in his youth. The sight of Ryan's mockery stirred memories of a particularly trying day when he'd maintained his composure despite relentless provocation from tourists. "Son," John called out, his voice carrying the weight of his years, "you might want to reconsider what you're doing here." The crowd parted, allowing John to step closer to Ryan. The TikTok star paused his exaggerated marching, turning to face the older man with a mixture of amusement and annoyance. John's eyes flickered to the guard, Michael, whose stoic expression betrayed no emotion. "That uniform represents something greater than you or me," John continued, gesturing towards Michael. "I've stood where he's standing. I felt the weight of that bearskin cap, the responsibility it carries." The crowd around them had grown silent, hanging on John's every word. Ryan's friend, still filming, zoomed in on John's face, capturing the intensity in his eyes. "This isn't just a tourist attraction," John said, indicating the palace grounds. "It's a symbol of our history, our traditions. We all have a part in preserving that respect." Ryan's cocky demeanor faltered momentarily, but he quickly recovered. "Chill out, Gramps," he said with a smirk. "It's just a bit of fun. No one's getting hurt." He turned to the crowd, playing to his audience. "Right, guys? We're all here to have a good time?" A ripple of unease passed through the onlookers. Some laughed nervously, while others frowned in disapproval. The crowd was splitting, divided between those who saw Ryan's antics as harmless entertainment and those who shared John's indignation. "You may think it's just fun," John said, his voice low and steady. "But actions have consequences. That guard you're mocking? He's a soldier, doing his duty." Ryan's smirk faded, replaced by uncertainty. For a moment it seemed like John's words might be getting through. But then Ryan's friend called out, "Come on, man. Don't let this old-timer ruin the show. Give 'em what they came for." The spell was broken. Ryan's bravado returned, bolstered by the cheers of his supporters. He turned back to Michael, his stance more aggressive than before. "Sorry, old man," Ryan called over his shoulder, "but the show must go on." John watched helplessly as Ryan reached into his pocket, pulling out something that glinted in the morning sun. As Ryan raised his hand, a paper coffee cup clutched in his fingers. John closed his eyes, bracing himself for what was to come. As the tension around Buckingham Palace reached its zenith, Ryan's fingers tightened around the paper coffee cup. The crowd held a collective breath, phones poised to capture what many assumed would be a moment of humiliation for the stoic guard. Ryan's eyes narrowed, a mischievous glint reflecting his intentions. He raised the cup slowly, savoring the anticipation. The atmosphere crackled with an electric charge, a stark contrast to the usual reverent hush surrounding the royal residence. Ryan's wrist flicked, and the cup left his hand. The dark liquid arced through the air, spiraling like a comet towards Michael's impassive face. As the liquid hurtled towards its target, Michael's training kicked in. His mind processed the threat in milliseconds. The crowd watched, transfixed, as the guard stood motionless. But beneath the surface, Michael's every sense was on high alert. His muscles tensed imperceptibly, ready to spring into action. The coffee was mere inches from Michael's face when it happened. In a move so swift it seemed to defy physics, Michael's hand shot up. His fingers splayed wide, intercepting the cup with pinpoint precision. The crowd gasped in collective disbelief. Michael's hand closed around the cup, securing it firmly. Not a single drop touched his pristine uniform. The liquid sloshed inside, mirroring the stunned confusion on Ryan's face. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then a chorus of amazed exclamations erupted from the crowd. Phones captured the aftermath, their owners struggling to process what they had just witnessed. Ryan stood frozen, his bravado evaporating. This moment showcased more than just lightning-fast reflexes. It demonstrated the discipline and composure that form the bedrock of elite military training. Michael's ability to maintain focus and execute a precise movement under intense pressure spoke volumes about his rigorous preparation. As the initial shock subsided, murmurs of admiration rippled through the gathering. Onlookers exchanged glances of awe, their perspectives on the stoic guards permanently altered. Ryan's cocky demeanor crumbled, replaced by embarrassment and grudging respect. He had underestimated the guard, assuming the uniform was merely for show. Now, faced with irrefutable evidence of Michael's capabilities, Ryan was forced to confront the consequences of his ill-conceived prank. The incident served as a powerful reminder of the intense training and psychological preparation that soldiers like Michael undergo. Their ability to remain composed in the face of provocation, to make split-second decisions under pressure, and to respond with precision to unexpected threats are all hallmarks of their rigorous training regimen. As the crowd's excitement settled, a new atmosphere of respect descended. The once rowdy tourists now regarded Michael with reverence. His unwavering stance, even in the face of such a brazen challenge, embodied the dignity and honor associated with his role. The coffee cup hung suspended in Michael's grip, a silent testament to the guard's superhuman reflexes. The crowd held its breath, frozen in a tableau of shock and awe. What had begun as a light-hearted prank had transformed into a moment of reckoning, with all eyes fixed on the stoic figure in scarlet and black. Ryan's cocky smile slowly faded, replaced by a dawning realization of his mistake. His cheeks flushed red, and his eyes darted nervously from Michael to the crowd and back again. The once confident prankster now stood like a chastised schoolboy, acutely aware of the hundreds of eyes boring into him. The magnitude of his error crashed over him like a tidal wave, washing away his bravado and leaving behind a shell of embarrassment. Michael's composed demeanor spoke volumes, his silence more powerful than any words could be. His unwavering posture and steady gaze exemplified the importance of nonverbal communication in high-stress situations. Without uttering a sound, he had transformed from a passive guard to an authoritative figure, showcasing the crucial role of body language in maintaining control. The crowd's perception of the once stoic guards had been irrevocably altered. They no longer saw mere statues in ornate uniforms, but highly trained professionals capable of extraordinary feats. The incident had peeled back the layers of tradition to reveal the core of discipline and honor that lay beneath. In the crowd, the elderly veteran's weathered face bore a subtle nod of approval. His eyes, which had seen countless displays of discipline and courage, recognized the embodiment of those values in Michael's unwavering stance. It was a silent acknowledgement, a bridge between generations of service and sacrifice. The silence stretched on, building anticipation for Michael's response. His ability to remain calm in the face of provocation demonstrated the psychological resilience expected of those in his position. It was a vivid example of how dignity could triumph over disrespect in a public setting. Finally, Michael broke his silence. When he spoke, his words carried the weight of centuries of tradition and the authority of the institution he represented. "Sir," he began, his voice steady and clear, I'll have to ask you to step back and show respect for the uniform and what it represents." The simple statement cut through the tension like a knife. It was not just a reprimand to Ryan, but a reminder to all present of the significance of the guard's role. Michael's response served as a powerful lesson in respect and tradition, demonstrating how authority could reclaim respect in a moment of chaos. Ryan nodded mutely, taking a step back. The coffee cup, still gripped firmly in Michael's hand, served as a tangible reminder of the failed prank and its consequences. As Ryan retreated, the crowd's focus remained on Michael, their expressions a mix of awe and newfound understanding. Michael's voice shattered the silence, calm yet thunderous, carrying the weight of centuries of tradition. The crowd, moments ago filled with tension and anticipation, now stood transfixed as he addressed Ryan directly. "This uniform," Michael began, his words measured and impactful, "represents the sacrifices of generations. The men who wore it before me died defending what you mock." His tone was controlled, devoid of anger or aggression, yet it commanded attention. Ryan, who had been so cocky just moments before, now seemed to shrink under the weight of Michael's words. As Michael spoke, the crowd's reaction shifted. Phones were raised not to capture a prank gone wrong, but to record an unexpected lesson in dignity and respect. The amusement that had rippled through the onlookers earlier had transformed into a collective realization of the gravity of the situation. Michael's speech continued, each word carefully chosen. He spoke of duty, honor, and the countless men and women who had given their lives in service to their country. The historical context he provided wasn't just a history lesson, it was a stark reminder of the real-world implications of Ryan's actions. The psychological impact of Michael's controlled response was evident. His measured tone and calm demeanor served as a powerful tactic in verbal de-escalation. Where anger might have escalated the situation, Michael's composure left no room for argument or further disrespect. As Michael's words washed over the crowd, Ryan's transformation was visible. The cocky grin had long since faded, replaced by a look of genuine remorse. His shoulders slumped and his gaze dropped to the ground. The public admonishment was having a far greater effect than any private reprimand could have achieved. The crowd watched in rapt attention as Michael's speech reached its climax. The Royal Guard, once seen as merely a tourist attraction, now stood as a living embodiment of the values he spoke about. Even those who had initially found Ryan's antics amusing now looked on with newfound respect. Michael's final words drove home the seriousness of the situation. "The Metropolitan Police," he stated, his voice still calm but carrying an undercurrent of authority, "take a particularly dim view of assault on royal guards." The legal consequences of Ryan's actions, previously an afterthought, now loomed large in everyone's minds. As Michael concluded his address, the transformation was complete. What had begun as a misguided attempt at humor had become a powerful, teachable moment. Ryan stood subdued, the reality of his actions finally sinking in. The crowd, many still recording, remained silent, processing the unexpected turn of events. In the background, the veteran who had tried to intervene earlier nodded approvingly. His expression spoke volumes about the importance of what had just transpired. It was clear that Michael's handling of the situation had not only put Ryan in his place, but had also served as a lesson to everyone present about the true meaning of respect and dignity. The crowd's murmurs subsided as a new tension filled the air. Two stern-faced security officers approached, their presence adding gravity to the situation. Ryan's cocky demeanor crumbled as the reality of his actions began to sink in. One of the officers, a seasoned veteran with a no-nonsense expression, pulled Ryan aside. In a low, authoritative voice, he began explaining the legal implications of Ryan's ill-conceived prank. The officer's words carried weight, each syllable hammering home the seriousness of the situation. Ryan's face paled as the officer outlined the potential consequences. His earlier bravado evaporated like morning mist, replaced by a growing sense of dread. The gravity of the situation was finally sinking in, and Ryan looked lost and alone. As the officer spoke, Ryan's friends, who had been eagerly filming the prank, began to distance themselves. The cameraman lowered his device, avoiding eye contact with the security personnel. Ryan's supporters melted into the crowd, leaving him to face the music alone. The second officer began gathering witness statements. Tourists who had watched the scene unfold recounted their observations, their excitement replaced by a sense of civic duty. Smartphones that had captured Ryan's antics were now being used to provide digital evidence to the authorities. Ryan, still reeling from the sudden turn of events, attempted to downplay his actions. "Come on, it was just a joke," he pleaded, his voice lacking its earlier confidence. "I didn't mean any harm." The lead officer's response was swift and stern. "Intent doesn't negate consequences," he said, fixing Ryan with a steely gaze. "Assaulting a royal guard is a serious offense. You're facing potential charges of attempted assault, which can lead to significant legal consequences." He continued, detailing the possible fines and even imprisonment that could result from Ryan's actions. "The law takes a particularly dim view of assaults on royal guards. Your joke could have serious repercussions." As the officers continued their investigation, the possibility of arrest loomed larger. Ryan's attempts at charm fell flat against the officer's professionalism. His social media fame, once a source of pride, now seemed trivial in the face of potential legal action. After what seemed like an eternity of questioning and evidence gathering, the lead officer made a decision. With a nod to his colleague, he turned to Ryan. "We're going to need you to come with us for further questioning," he said, his tone brooking no argument. Ryan's shoulders slumped as the reality of his situation fully hit home. As the officers began to escort him away, the weight of his actions seemed to physically press down on him. His prank had backfired spectacularly, and now he faced consequences far beyond a few disapproving looks or negative comments. As Ryan was led away, an unexpected hush fell over the gathered tourists. The square transformed from a scene of chaos to an impromptu classroom on dignity and cultural sensitivity. Like a clearing sky after a storm, the crowd's mood shifted from entertainment to respect. A mother knelt beside her young son, her voice gentle but firm. "You see, honey," she said, gesturing towards the stoic guard who remained at his post. "That uniform represents something much bigger than just one person. It's about respect for our history and the people who protect us." The boy nodded, his eyes wide with understanding. This moment, born from conflict, had become a powerful teaching opportunity. Nearby, a group of American tourists huddled together, their earlier laughter replaced by expressions of embarrassment and introspection. "I can't believe we thought that was funny," one woman admitted, her cheeks flushed. "It's like we forgot where we were for a moment." Her companion nodded in agreement. "Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the moment and forget that these aren't just tourist attractions. They're real people doing an important job." As these conversations unfolded, the veteran who had tried to intervene earlier found himself surrounded by curious onlookers. His weathered face lit up as he explained the significance of the guard's uniform and the respect it commands. "That scarlet tunic and bearskin cap represent centuries of tradition and sacrifice," he said, his voice carrying the weight of experience. "When you mock that uniform, you're disrespecting every person who's ever worn it to protect our country." The tourists listened intently, their perspectives visibly shifting as they absorbed his words. One by one, phones were lowered, as if the urge to capture every moment for social media had been replaced by a desire to simply be present and learn. As the crowd began to disperse, there was a sense that each person was carrying away more than just a story to share. They were leaving with a newfound respect for the guards, the traditions they uphold, and the importance of cultural sensitivity. A father guiding his family away from the scene was overheard saying, "Remember this moment, kids. It's about understanding why these rules exist and respecting the values they represent." The veteran, still surrounded by a small group of attentive listeners, smiled as he watched the changed demeanor of the dispersing crowd. "Sometimes it takes a moment like this to remind us all of the importance of dignity and respect in our daily lives," he mused. Today, this little square became a classroom for us all. As the square slowly returned to its normal state, the impact of the incident continued to ripple outward. What had begun as a spectacle had transformed into a powerful lesson on cultural understanding and respect. The digital realm erupted with activity as news of the incident at Buckingham Palace spread like wildfire. Phones across London, and soon the world, buzzed incessantly with notifications. What had begun as Ryan Parker's attempt at viral infamy had transformed into something far more profound. The video of Michael Bennett's lightning-fast reflexes and unwavering composure spread across social media platforms at a dizzying pace, racking up views that would make even the most seasoned influencers green with envy. As the footage circulated, Ryan's followers were left in a state of shock. They had tuned in expecting another of his trademark savage pranks, but instead witnessed a masterclass in dignity and restraint. The video, which had now been viewed over 50 million times, became a catalyst for heated discussions about respect, tradition, and the consequences of actions driven by the pursuit of fleeting internet fame. The incident quickly transcended social media, capturing the attention of major news outlets and sparking widespread debate. A particularly impactful meme depicted Michael as a superhero, his scarlet tunic replaced with a cape, symbolizing the Guard's unwavering dedication to duty. This image resonated with millions, encapsulating the public's admiration for Michael's composure. As the story gained traction, military analysts appeared on news segments to discuss the discipline displayed during the incident. They emphasized the importance of maintaining composure in the face of provocation, turning Michael's actions into a teachable moment for viewers around the world. The incident's impact extended far beyond the digital sphere, hinting at potential long-term cultural shifts. Interest in military service among young people seemed to increase, inspired by Michael's composure and the values he represented. The Royal Military Academy took notice, recognizing the powerful symbolism of the moment and its potential for future training. For Ryan Parker, the aftermath was far less positive. His social media empire, once a source of pride and income, began to crumble. Sponsors, wary of being associated with his tarnished image, quickly distanced themselves. Followers, once eager for his next prank, now vanished in droves. In a desperate attempt to salvage his reputation, Ryan posted an apology video, but it only served to fuel further criticism, highlighting the severe backlash against his actions. As the dust settled, it became clear that this moment had transcended its origins as a simple prank gone wrong. It had become a cultural touchstone, a reference point for discussions about respect, duty, and the power of restraint in an age of constant provocation. People from all walks of life found themselves reflecting on their own behavior and the values they held dear, wondering how this incident might shape social media culture and societal norms in the months and years to come. The aftermath of the viral encounter unfolded in stark contrast for Michael Bennett and Ryan Parker, revealing the unpredictable nature of sudden fame and its lasting consequences. Weeks after the incident, Michael received a commendation at a palace ceremony for his composed handling of the situation. As he stood at attention, his scarlet tunic pristine and his bearskin cap perfectly positioned, he reflected on the unexpected turn his life had taken. The coffee cup incident, once a potential moment of humiliation, had become a symbol of dignity and professionalism. When asked about his actions, Michael simply stated, "I did my duty as every guard before me has done, and every guard after me will do." His words, devoid of ego, resonated with those who valued tradition and respect. While Michael's life continued with a sense of purpose, Ryan Parker's world had crumbled. His social media empire lay in ruins, sponsors fled, and his followers vanished. The public backlash was swift and unforgiving, leaving Ryan to grapple with the harsh reality of his actions. He faced legal repercussions, including a court fine and a permanent ban from entering the United Kingdom. As Ryan struggled to come to terms with his new reality, he found himself reflecting on the words of the veteran who had intervened. "That uniform you mocked? Men died wearing it. That tradition you laughed at, it survived centuries." These words took on a profound significance as Ryan contemplated the weight of history he had so carelessly disregarded. The incident sparked broader conversations about respect in the digital age. Tourists now whispered about the coffee cup incident as they passed by the guards, sharing the story with their children. The square had become an impromptu classroom where people discussed the importance of cultural sensitivity and the power of quiet dignity. At the Royal Military Academy, the incident became a training exhibit. Recruits studied Michael's actions, learning that sometimes the most powerful statements are made without words. For Michael, the recognition he received was both an honor and a responsibility. He carried with him a deeper understanding of the uniform he wore and the values it represented. Ryan faced a long journey of reflection and attempted redemption. The path forward was unclear, but he knew that rebuilding his reputation would require more than just a public apology. He would need to demonstrate genuine growth and a true understanding of the respect he had failed to show. As time passed, questions lingered in the public imagination. Would there be a moment of reconciliation between Michael and Ryan? Could Ryan find a way to make amends for his actions? These unanswered questions added an element of anticipation to the ongoing narrative, leaving the audience to ponder the possibilities of change and redemption. Michael Bennett's composed response to the coffee incident became a global phenomenon, sparking discussions about respect and dignity. His actions resonated beyond Buckingham Palace, challenging people to reconsider their behavior in public spaces. The incident's impact extended to social media, prompting a reevaluation of prank culture. The fallout from Ryan Parker's stunt served as a cautionary tale about the legal ramifications of disrespectful acts at historical sites. It became a catalyst for change, inspiring conversations about cultural sensitivity and preserving traditions. As one military veteran stated, respect transcends cultural boundaries. It's a universal language that speaks volumes about who we are as individuals and as a society.